Good evening and welcome to the Town of Buckland Select Board meeting of Tuesday, January 28th, 5 p.m. Looks like we have a appointment set up for 5 with the Buckland Shelburne Elementary School PTO in regards to the Buckland Shelburne Playground fundraising efforts.
Sure. So here's one picture. Some photos in the back. I recommend looking at those. Would you like them?
Kate, could you just both kind of scoot up closer to that microphone, just so the people that are watching from home know? Channel 9 does not have volume still, so they can't hear you at home.
Yeah.
But the recording, which will be on YouTube, will be live.
Yes.
That has audio.
That makes sense.
My name's Flannery, and I'm co-chair of the Playground Improvement Committee with Kate here. So I know you're a Buckland resident, so you're familiar with the town. But
Yeah. Okay. So Flannery is one of the masterminds behind the Oktoberfest at the school that raised all the money in one swoop. So there's a lot of can-do attitude. We looked into this in the beginning and we were astonished at how expensive playgrounds are, and we were equally astonished at how bad the damage is, especially like structural, and how far out of code the playground is. We have 2 leads on big funding possibilities. One is Paul Mark said he would pursue a legislative earmark up to $100K, and the other is we put in a very ambitious CPA application to the town of Shelburne. They have a little bit more money this year because of the way the accounting was. It's like kind of like a year and a half of funds. So we put in for $100,000 to replace the playgrounds. All 3 of them would be around $300,000.
yeah, so $300,000 is the kind of the goal at this point, but none of the playgrounds are inclusive or ADA compliant at this point. So it really limits accessibility for a lot of kids and community members, and there's been a lot of safety issues. So we are also looking to try to, as a second phase, have poured-in rubber place underneath so that it could be wheelchair accessible for at least one of the playground spaces. So that would increase over $300K. But our target right now is $300,000 to get the structures to be safe and compliant with the standards.
So the reason we're here more specifically is that we went to the Shelburne CPA meeting like a week or 2 ago that was specifically about our application, and a couple members on the committee expressed hesitance over funding something that should be funded through the school district, which I tried to explain that the school district is underwater already, and then also wanted to know if Buckland would contribute. Now, Buckland doesn't have a CPA pot of money. So this is me reporting what they said to you, and maybe you have something that you can tell me that I can tell them.
So you're right, we don't have CPA money. We don't have a whole lot. I mean, we've got a lot of projects going ourselves as well. Would we be able to utilize like a park grant type of deal for?
The issue is that we can't apply, well, we can apply for the grant, but it would have to be within the town of Buckland. Shelburne could apply for a grant, for a park grant, and use it. I think it would be an eligible park grant expense, I could certainly have
I've
to
done
collaborate.
research
Yeah.
on the park grant. Unfortunately, those are for town property that has to be in the purview of the Parks and Recs Department. And so playgrounds are on school property. So we did some research on that. It doesn't seem as though the park grant is eligible.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
we pursued the CPA.
Yes.
Yeah.
So a Buckland applying for a grant, I do not think would be productive in this case.
There's also the uncertainty with the redistricting. A lot of if anything ever comes to pass, which I kind of skeptical that 8 towns will vote affirmatively at town meeting, but we'll see. BSC is retained in the majority of the proposals, except for the one where everyone goes to Mohawk. But in that case, it'd be servicing, towns beyond Buckland and Shelburne.
Right.
So there's a lot of uncertainties in the air, and we might not even get the Shelburne CPA.
They seemed, we were cautiously optimistic after our meeting last time. I thought they were generally in support of the project, but wanted to know more about Mohawk Trails investment and Buckland's investment.
And that's certainly understandable. Both Shelburne will be hearing from the Mohawk. The feasibility study group is presenting in Shelburne, I believe, on March 10th. The select board in Buckland will be hearing from them on March 11th, and we should know more about their intentions. And we're going to have that meeting hybrid so that people watching from home can hear their presentation for the Buckland Select Board.
That decisions of that affect all the towns, really, but you did a good, Megan was with you, I know, Megan's my daughter-in-law, and he was saying how well you guys worked, and I told Flannery the other day, and finally met her in the grocery store, and, maybe if you can put a couple more things, I was thinking even a GoFundMe page, because.
We started as
Started
Zeffie.
one.
Did we?
Yeah, we have
But you
to share that.
Gotta play it up
Yeah.
and go that way, because.
Yeah.
Started it yesterday.
Yes, it just started yesterday. Yeah, we got the, Katie Machonsky helped us
Yeah.
get the 501c3 status, so we just launched the funding platform for kind of community engagement just this week. And, we've been visiting other, local playgrounds and finding out how they funded it. There was a lot of private investment, so we are going to be reaching out to businesses.
This is what I said that too.
Yeah, so
And
reaching
then-
out to businesses and looking for in-kind donations as well.
Just keep it in your eye every time that this school is sending home a notice or something, to make sure it's on that remember the GoFundMe page, to that. And you'd be surprised, because a lot of people don't hear. And,
Yeah.
There are, we're not loaded, we're not exactly the wealthiest communities in the world, but they're very generous communities, I found out through a lot, so. Trying to think of what else. The other ones we put in, the ones out back, were paid for by the PTO, and that's what you are. They had fundraised, but it took them years of fundraising to get that kind of money. The show you put on during the fall over there that paid for the entire trip for the 6th graders was fantastic, but that's still about $300,000. It's going to take you 30 years. Whatever,
Drop in the bucket, right?
It's great, though. You may have to do a lot of that. You may have to just do that.
Yeah, we went down to Hadley Elementary a couple months ago. They just put in new playgrounds, and they were able to get the fundraising almost entirely from private donations. Of course, there are different, location, different businesses in their area, but we're able to do it in a matter of about 6 or 7 months, pull it together. So we're kind of using their model and trying some of the same
They
strategies.
did get CPA funds.
They did, yeah.
And they also had $100,000 in the bank account already with their school.
From their school, yeah.
Yeah.
And then Steve Lewis Subaru gave them, I don't know, $50,000 or $100,000, something like that. So we're still gonna reach out to a lot of businesses, but we're also starting.
Yeah, a lot of local businesses.
Yeah.
Joe Ray, and these very charitable with things if they can afford it. I just didn't want to put them on the spot or anyone, but we've got some people that do a lot. Sometimes, unfortunately, it's only work.
Right, well, we definitely will be looking for that too. Yeah,
Yeah.
helping us
That's
get
where
out the old
some of the-
equipment and
yes.
see what we can salvage and, the structures that the swing sets are on, we're gonna see how much we can retain of those. We have a community member who's an engineer who's gonna come visit at the school and walk through it with us. So, we have A lot of irons in the fire, but
So, hypothetical. Say Shelburne says, we're gonna give you $20,000, not the 100, we're gonna give you 20 for the CPA. Would Buckland be able to match that in the next couple of years in some way, or is that not possible?
So we have a capital planning process,
Okay.
and I would look at this as a capital planning request. It certainly fits the criteria in all cases, except for the fact that the property is not in Buckland. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it would not. And there, we have a pretty formal ranking process in which each project request goes through, and the finance committee brings brings each project through that process. I think that that might be a good first step, and I would also like to put the word out to interested Buckland residents that the CPA is a really useful tool, and that if there were residents interested in starting a CPA committee and bringing that to your town meeting, this is a good time to start thinking about that, because town meeting is in May, and it is a really wonderful source of funding for these extra type, and I don't want to say extra, for these projects that enrich a community in a really meaningful way, but that often do not rise to a capital planning, public safety, public infrastructure criteria, but still add as much value to a town as anything else.
I'm wondering too,
So-
that, you were saying that the schools in Shelburne property and Mohawks on our property, what we do. I think both towns, the towns themselves are responsible for it. So I think we have more ownership to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I don't think that would really matter if we could help units over there. That's what I was
Yeah,
saying.
yeah. I don't think that we would, as a community, not own
Right.
our share of that. But what I'm saying is that some of the funding sources, some of the property, general
I know
fund,
what you're
things that work our way through our budget and our capital planning process would usually be something within the town of Buckland from a grant perspective, but again, I really would love to see residents that are interested in starting our own CPA step forward, because this would be a really great first project to get excited
So who
about.
would be able to clearly articulate how much it would raise a tax bill for various categories of people
strata.
and property value? Like,
So the CPA website is actually a very
really?
well-organized website. It gives some very specific information. There's a good FAQ page. And then from there, we could really build that out internally. I think that as a town administrator, I have not ever stepped forward with initiating that, because I feel like that should really be something that those of you who live here in the community would want to bring forward to your fellow residents. But I'm happy to assist in the background as much as anybody would like.
Yeah, I mean, I think Heather's kind of on point as, I would certainly want to put it out to town residents, and ultimately give them, a say, which if we were to put it in as a capital expense, that's where it would go. It would have to get approved at a
So
town
what's the
meeting.
process for us to initiate that?
I will send you a capital request form.
Okay.
If you could get that back. It's not overly complicated, but just a little bit more information about the project. The finance committee meets twice a month, and they could put it through the screening, through the criteria process. We, see where it ranks against the other projects that are already in front of it. This isn't a poor free cash year, but I think even next year, we would have more discretion
Yeah.
in our free cash scenario, because we'll recognize the proceeds from the police station
Right.
in FY '27 as
Yeah.
opposed to FY '26. But
When is the deadline for the getting it into the budget for the town meeting?
well, the capital planning process is usually November, December. So we've really worked through a lot of the FY '26 requests for this year. Not saying that they wouldn't still put it, what I think is important is that they see the request, they go through, complete the ranking, and it carries over to the next year. So projects that don't get, because we still have projects that haven't been funded for FY '26, so that will automatically roll to '27. So I guess November next year, technically,
Okay.
would be your deadline.
Okay.
Yeah, we're considering this to be potentially a multi-year, venture, or at least a two-phase project,
That's
so,
wise.
yeah. So we would definitely be interested in putting that in, and then, you can see if our Buckland residents want to get on board with the CPA, but I'm not.
Would you be willing to share
Kate needs another project.
Yeah.
would you be willing to share our fundraising platform to residents? And would it go to town news, or can you?
Oh, two town news.
Two-town news, I missed the deadline, but,
Oh, just for the next month, but,
well, for the next month, but yeah, the two-town news, we would be glad to feature that.
Yeah.
Send us some photos,
yeah.
If you can get me something tonight, I could sneak it in for next month.
Okay, yeah, I mean, we have some things ready to go, and,
Yeah.
Yeah, keep it, because I know we're kind of, I'll see, because I've done my part in it, but I'll see if I can get it in, but you can just have it, send it to us by the 21st of any month, and we'll get it in, but see,
Yeah.
send me something tonight, and I'll see if I can beg them to put it in.
Joan's a very useful
Very
person.
persuasive.
Yeah, very persuasive. I might also put it on Facebook in the Shellbuck News, nutshell, and,
We put it on Sheldon Falls in a nutshell.
yeah, just
I didn't see it
yesterday,
on there.
yeah.
Good.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yep.
good.
But two-town news, yeah, just send it to, it's Shellbuck News.
Sounds good.
Well, and we usually have somebody that's always perusing grants, opportunities, so.
No names mentioned, but
Right. She's always looking for a
And don't-
project.
don't ever hesitate to come over and see her too. Her office is right down here, please.
And also, is there an opportunity to, you see, the cracked foundation, and there's been 6 broken bones in 6 months. Is it something that you want to leverage state policymakers on, school underfunding at the state level, to be we can't even, this is not in the school budget,
I
Yeah,
have pictures of
absolutely.
Blakey with a broken arm. You could,
Yeah.
And but I don't know, tour the playground and show the, I don't know. If there's some creative way to make use of this for larger policy change, because there's just systemic issues with everything out here, funding.
Yes.
We're very well aware of that.
Yeah,
Well, Chapter 70 reform is one of the top 3 legislative policy priorities that the Select Board and the Finance Committee have shared with local legislators already. There's the FERCog fifth Wednesday meeting, which is tomorrow, where we'll be looking at bills that have been filed. And I know that Chapter 70 reform is in that. And I guess maybe even speaking of FERCog, putting it on their radar.
okay.
That's a good idea.
That's a good idea too.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, they have access
They
to,
scour for
They
grants.
touch,
Yeah,
they touch a
yeah.
lot more
Yeah.
bases than we can, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
right,
So we
that's a
can-
good idea.
We can connect on who specifically to put it, whose desk to put it on.
Maybe, I've been working with Bob Dean on other stuff, so maybe him.
Yeah,
Bob's certainly a good starting point, yeah.
he definitely would be.
Phoebe.
Sounds like you've been doing your
Yeah,
research, so
Phoebe
that's
too, yeah.
great.
They're Buckland residents, yeah, Bobby's and Phoebe, yeah.
And then we did, in terms of some of the grants, we're looking at having letters of support from local town officials is something that we wanted to include. So I would also ask that if you're willing to write us or support our initiative, just, on paper, then I think that could be helpful for some of the grants we're looking at as well.
Well, I think that's something we can immediately do for you. I don't have any issue with that.
Not at all.
Okay, we'll get something drawn up and
Great,
Heather we'll get that over to you.
thank you. Great, thank you.
All right, thank you for coming in.
Wish we could do more tonight,
Yeah.
we can't, but,
Yeah,
Yeah, no, it's good.
good luck.
Thank you.
Should come.
I was telling Kate that rebuilding a playground was my initiation into local government in 2002. It was that experience that.
With arsenic.
With us, yeah, we had remediation issues, which, yeah. But anyways,
when it's done and all the kids.
this, what I'm saying is, this is where it starts. So soon you'll be here.
I remember when that
Thank you,
playground
ladies.
that they've got all the pictures on went in.
Yep, yeah,
So,
yeah.
I think I might have just been out of elementary school when they put that playground in.
Yeah. Well, now back to sixth grade one,
Of course, that swing set was probably there when you were.
Yep, well, there was a big slide out front that was 20 feet high when I was,
Yep.
and it was metal in it, boy, the sunshine.
That's the one that ended up in the wreck,
That's the
wasn't
one
it?
that wrecked, yeah. Yeah, and then the animals on springs, remember the springs? It was a child killer.
Yep. Yep.
Jeez. Far they've come.
All right. We don't have any more appointments tonight. That's good. We'll move into our first agenda item. We have, all the stuff we deferred from our last meeting.
I made some progress.
So our first one is the Upper Pioneer Valley Veteran Service District correspondence, which was a request to adopt the local option, section 23 of the Veteran Hero Act, chapter 178 of the Acts of 2024. Heather, do you want to go into?
Sure. So, first I want to correct statements that were made at the last meeting. Internally, we were misunderstanding the language of the legislation, and we interpreted the up to 100% as the full property tax assessment that veterans would be eligible for. We've since learned and since reevaluated that it's 100% of their current exemption. So in other words, if a veteran is receiving a $1,000 exemption, they would be up to an additional $1,000 exemption under one of these local option provisions, not 100% of their property tax assessment. So that really changes the scale of things significantly. And it's important to note that there are two local options that are here within the HEROES Act. One is a local option to add a COLA to the current exemption. The current exemption. Oh my goodness, why can I not say that word?
Exemption.
Thank you, exemptions. And they would base that on the CPI from year to year, and so we've modeled the figures that are in front of you on a 5% CPI or a 5% COLA, knowing that each year fluctuates. And that would represent approximately an additional $50 to $20 on a person's existing exemption. So not a huge change, but that's one of the sections. The second section is what we were just talking about, which a veteran would be eligible up to 100% of their existing exemption. So if they're getting $1,000, they'd get $2,000. If you adopted both, that'd be $2,000 and $100 to $2,100 total.
So right now, we're being reimbursed.
The first
So if it's
1,000.
1,000,
We're being reimbursed $1,000.
so that would still
So the
continue.
so the 1,100 would not be reimbursed. And I guess, so jumping to the bottom line, if the town were to adopt both exemptions, both local options, you're looking at approximately $14,300, based on the current number of veterans that are receiving the benefit. Of course, that number continues to fluctuate as well as people move into town and of course as our veterans pass. The one thing that I did want to mention before we get too far down the line is that the HEROES Act is the current legislation that is in front of us. However, there have been any number of other local options that the town has not taken advantage of to help other demographics of its residents. So, for example, there are other local options, non-reimbursable exemptions that would be that the town has had an opportunity to adopt that would benefit a broader spectrum of their residents. So, for example, anybody over the age of 65. And we have not done that, which for whatever reason. So I just want to make sure that as we continue this conversation, there is a door that we would be opening that would, although we certainly want to do our best by our veterans, we want to do our best by all of our citizens, and this may be a door that gets opened wider depending upon who brings forward what other, whatever other local options are currently available. So just want to put that out there because that wasn't something that had really crossed my mind before, but as we've been doing homework and asking around about this, it's important that we mention other non-reimbursable local option tax exemptions that are out there that could be adopted.
Could I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
So would this exemption only be for the veteran? Now, if a veteran passes, would it stay with, say, a spouse?
Yes.
And this is for fully disabled
Yeah.
veterans. So
Yeah.
it's not every veteran.
Yeah.
No, I understand,
Oh,
but if
okay.
they pass, they die,
Oh, I see,
it stays with their surviving spouse.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, it does, yeah.
So this could increase then anyways. But I'm just
Well,
asking.
but
It could increase, it could
yeah.
decrease,
Yeah.
it would fluctuate.
Right.
yeah, right now we have the numbers are here that we have 7 residents that are receiving the $1,000 exemption, and we have 15 residents that are receiving the $400 veterans exemption. That number of residents could increase or decrease depending upon, again, your population. People moving into town, veterans finding themselves with a disability that qualifies as fully disabled that are maybe not so today.
And this vote is, each community in Massachusetts is taking this up, is that what it?
Yes. Well, this is being brought forward because it's a new piece of legislation. And there have been past laws that have been adopted that the town chose not to bring to town meeting that would have benefited other demographics of residents. This one was a letter written to you directly from your Veterans District agent, so that's why we're discussing it in such length.
Well, it says here the next steps would be to discuss with the finance committee, right? So we're not taking a vote tonight or
Well,
anything.
I would recommend a conversation with your finance committee before, because you're, you know,
Yes.
They're the fiscal folks.
Yeah, I mean, I would be, I think like you said, Heather, I think we'd be looking at possibly opening Pandora's box. Because there's so many different things out there that are looking, and eventually we're, and I know we're already, we've got a couple of good years coming ahead of us, but moving forward from there, I
Well,
don't know.
to put it in perspective, so the $14,300 seems like a very nominal amount of money. However, the governor...
5 years from now, it
well,
could be
right.
50,000.
But the governor just released early cherry sheet. The governor's budget is always the most favorable to cities and towns. The increase that the town of Buckland is looking at is $8,200 in its unrestricted general aid. So this one increase to the budget is double, or almost double, what we're expecting as an increase in our unrestricted general aid. If that helps put it into perspective.
6,100 in the hole already.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I don't know how the legislation expects communities to continue to keep up with these.
Unfunded mandates?
Well, it's not a mandate; it's a local option, but
It
it's
is a local option.
it's a non-reimbursable option. You know.
They make it a local option, so we get to be the ones that look like bad guys if
I
if
know.
we
You're right
turn it
about that,
down.
Clint.
Yeah.
They can say, well, we'll let them have the choice, and,
Yeah.
And we increased unrestricted aid. So.
I think I would like to see what the finance committee has to say about it.
Definitely.
Before making a decision on our end. And I kind of know where I'm steering, but I'm not, if this were, if we were looking at 1 or 2 years, I'd be all for it. But, we're looking at something like this moving forward. We can't predict 10, 15 years from now. I mean, what if we have, if we have 40 fully disabled veterans, and now we're looking at, instead of 7,700, now and we've now put the town in a pickle because now we're at, almost 50,000.
And we couldn't just say we'll do this for 2 years or something like that? It has to be like forever?
Yes, once you adopt the local option, you've adopted the local option. I mean, I guess town meeting could technically vote to rescind it. I don't know how that works. I guess as a town meeting option. But
It sounds really up to town meeting to accept the program anyways, but.
This is just whether or not we'd be looking to put it on the town meeting warrant.
and we'll continue to do some research on other local options that have been made available that we haven't taken advantage of, just so we have an understanding of the scope of.
Do we have any feedback from any other towns? Was there?
Yes, we are further ahead in our consideration of this option than the majority of other communities in our area.
So they're gonna wait to hear from us.
Yep.
Good work, Heather,
Yep,
good work.
yep. Well, I mean, it's really credit to our Veterans District agent, Chris Drummers, who brought this to our attention and has been a strong advocate for our veterans, and he's doing his job, and I appreciate that he brought it to our attention, and it has we now have more questions than we had before. So we'll continue to sort of walk this out, but I wanted you to know, I wanted to ultimately correct our original misstatement and bring you a much clearer understanding of what the scope is, which is a lot less than what we had originally expected.
Yeah.
So, content to sort of leave this here, and we'll do some more work,
Yeah.
and,
Maybe give another town a chance to get out in front of us.
yep, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So we'll table that one again.
Okay.
And maybe give it to the finance committee to let them chew
Yeah.
on it a little bit.
Definitely.
All right, next is our continued transfer station improvements for the attendant shed replacement proposal. At our last meeting, we were asked to consider options for the replacement of the attendant shed building at the transfer station. We have approximately $23,000 available for this project in the recycling dividends program. What else would we use that money for, Heather? This
We
would be
can,
my first
we can
question.
use that money to offset some of our recycling costs, the tipping fees and the hauling fees for our recyclables. We can use a portion of this money towards that. And we often do. We can the stickers, the decals, the very popular decals. Those have been paid for using these funds. We use them to purchase the actual bag stickers. So costs that are associated with the transfer station, but the amount of money that comes into us each year outpaces our eligible costs, which is why we've accrued such a healthy balance.
Okay. So after kind of perusing through the different options, I think just going with one of the prefab sheds, I think would certainly be the easiest course to maybe take. Did you guys have any?
There was one that I kind of liked, but I don't know if it was the one that had like a big door besides the regular door.
The Connex box?
Yeah, so that if they wanted to put any equipment in there, it would be easier for them to try to manage a door. No, I like the barn one.
Yeah.
The other one looked
Okay.
like something out of the prison, I
Right.
didn't like that one at all. But, do you know what I mean?
Yep. We've definitely talked about that because they do have a snow blower
Right.
and some other small hand tools that would be nice to have storage space for. And we've looked at what those options would be. Right now, we have sort of a lean-to that has been boxed in. So the service is that. So if we start with the shed and build from there, making sure it has ample windows so that the attendants can see.
Yes, they need to.
Well, this time of year
Yeah.
in particular.
Definitely.
I think,
Well, and I think one of my other concerns with it too was, is it something we can maybe look into where we can get the motor and stuff for the compactor included into that boxing in scenario, to where
Heater for the winter,
Yeah, we
definitely
don't-
needs it.
we don't run into that freezing
Right.
up on us.
Right. Good idea, Clint,
Yeah.
because they were just complaining today about it.
It's a battle.
I mean, I know,
I think that'll take care
I
of
think
it.
there was a heater
Yeah, there was
that's
a
on
heater.
it, but it's not functioning right now.
Yeah.
Anthony said that he'd put a call into
Waste management.
waste management.
That's not a bad idea. It's
They
not-
have been out.
We could even build, we could have someone.
But I
build
think getting
to-
something insulated
Yeah.
there to where
Yeah.
it's at least drawing some of the
Okay.
heat from.
it's separate from the shed.
Yeah, but it could be attached to the
Well-
shed,
Otherwise
somebody
it'd be
could.
really loud, wouldn't it, inside there?
Not necessarily.
So,
That'll keep them out working.
And no hot tub.
That's right.
No hot
No hot
tub.
tub. So we'll put the team on it. We understand that you support the replacement
Definitely.
with the caveat that we'd like to figure out a way to enclose the motor for insulation purposes, and also identify some storage for the hand tools and the snow blower.
Yeah, and it wouldn't have to be, Joan, when you say be very loud, because what we just have to do is to keep it warm so that they do compact, and then they don't compact all day long. So it would only be loud for a few minutes, and they should be outside anyways, then checking on it, so.
Okay, all right, well, I'm not up on that kind of.
Something that gives them a little heat and also gives them a little air in the
But
summertime.
I like the shed that they had like a thing with double doors, so you can put a piece of equipment in there, and then a door for the attendants to use, and so they can be comfortable and warm, you know, when it's like today with
Well, we don't want them to be too comfortable.
not too comfortable.
Not
Well,
too-
then you can have
we're not,
windows they can
we're
see
not,
what
we're
people
we're not gonna be putting any lazy boys in there.
We're gonna be watching that they don't take these chairs too. It's,
I know. But I think we can upgrade the, this, setting up there a little bit and, make it a little less pest friendly and,
yes. You can see, I was looking today where they ate through the bottom and,
yeah.
Hey, can I ask a question on the salt
Of course.
shed? I rode by that for the first time coming back from the dump, from the transfer station.
Why are we not using it?
No.
Oh.
No, I figured it's gonna take time. Is the front gonna always be open wide?
Yes.
And they don't worry about weather or getting in, okay.
We're gonna have concerts in there.
We could, I was looking at it and that's it.
Operas.
An opera.
That's right, it's gonna be an opera center.
Call me when you're ready.
So we'll have to make sure we empty it
So
out
they'll
in
be able to
spring.
put like their hand tool, there'll be places they
So-
can
so that's-
hang their hand tools in there and shovels and rakes and all that. That'll be great.
Yeah.
Do most of them have, just leave it open? They do.
I guess the
Like
big
for that.
decision will be which color.
Buckland blue.
Oh, I love that, Buckland blue, okay.
The color of what? What are we painting now?
It's Buckland blue for
Do we
the
need
shed.
to vote on that? Or do you wanna come back with, you wanna get pricing and?
Yeah, we'll come back with a final proposal.
Okay.
Okay.
I just wanted some input as to which direction you
Yep.
wanted us to go.
Buckland blue.
Alright, so continued again.
Oh, that's okay.
Alright, our next one is our 2025, district local technical assistance, our DLTA request form. And I didn't do anything with it, Heather.
So I've identified, if you skip to the last page, I've identified priorities 1, 2, and 3.
What type of battery storage are we talking, like car batteries, or? are we talking-
No, this is what in reference to, so right now the hydro company has a application in front of our zoning board for a special permit for battery storage for the large battery cell utilities that you see National Grid, Eversource, the hydro companies installing in certain communities. It's a relatively, it's a similar bylaw structure to your ground-mounted solar. Only there's certainly intricacies to your battery storage proposals. We obviously are not far enough out ahead to have zoning in place for our current proposal. So we'd like to get started so that as more proposals come in, we're better prepared.
Gotcha. Okay. The community economic development.
So this is we can talk a little bit more about this when we get into the comprehensive economic development proposal, the seeds. but depending on how the board would like to move forward with the disposition of 50 Conway, because it is a unique site, it has certainly redevelopment potential. This would give you technical assistance to work with somebody to help with the procurement process. We could navigate some of the brownfield issues. I guess what I'm trying to say is it's going to be more complicated than the sale of the police station
I think so.
building. And what I'm hoping is that we could have some technical assistance from FERCog to deal with that property in particular, and look at it as a catalyst for some of the bigger or the more expansive redevelopment options and possibilities for that entire neighborhood. But I think it's something that is, we could use some professional help.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
So-
Especially with all the laws that are hidden, they're not known. And
Right.
We get hurt.
We did really, really, really well managing the 69 Conway property. I just think this one's a little bit more involved, and I would love,
I do too.
I would love to have some help.
I will second that for sure.
Yeah.
We do need it professional.
Well, we really want to make sure that we're maximizing the best return for the town.
Yeah, we don't want to get stuck later on with a suit because something's in the soil and, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our third one is the FEMA flood map changes.
Yeah.
Didn't we just do those?
We've adopted the bylaws, but this is how to submit recommendations and omissions and corrections. As the floodplain manager for your community, I am woefully undereducated on how to properly manage your flood maps. And I think, we've had residents that have brought forward questions and concerns about how their properties are impacted by the changes to the maps. And this would be technical assistance for the town, but specifically for me, in how to better service residents.
Would Howland know any of that? I mean, the Conservation Committee,
They have, your bylaw designates it to the town administrator.
Okay.
Yeah.
He'd be somebody to check with, though. You know, we're talking about Howland.
Steve, yep, oh, yeah, no,
Because he's very
Steve,
knowledgeable about so many things.
yeah, he is very knowledgeable about so many things.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. He has taken a very firm no on this one,
He did it.
which is why he's as knowledgeable as he is.
That's right.
Yeah, no, it's important that we understand how these maps have changed and impacted our residents, and if our residents have questions or concerns, I want to be able to address them and help them navigate the response to FEMA. Next year, we'll be eligible for the update to the hazard mitigation plan, which expires next year. So you'll see that is on the list, but we are not eligible this year because our plan has one more year. So we'll be looking at that
On the
next year.
back page, it has culvert replacements. Is that Pine Street, or due to high demand, the following towns are in queue for culvert? Oh, it's assessments, not the actual replacements, right?
No, the assessment, and we're already, Buckland had that on its list last year, and they're about 3/4 of the way through our assessment,
Okay.
which will be a very handy tool to have.
Yes, it will.
We'll figure out how many more culverts we get to replace in the
Yeah, I
next few
know.
years.
722.
You
Is that how many we have? No. How many culverts do we have?
Well, we'll find out.
get a lot.
Yeah. Don't forget the top of Elm Street sometime, you know.
I know.
Well, the problem is it went from just a simple hard top to being an engineer now.
Yeah. But we will, you'll see in our, with the next item on the agenda, the economic development, really want to turn our attention to Elm Street and work our way up that hill make that as nice as
Yeah.
possible.
Get Kevin Schwartz to tell us anyways.
Yeah.
You want to leave here, Kevin? Keep-
No, I think those are three really
Yeah,
good
very good.
choices. I would, make a motion to adopt those three to submit to the FERCog.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Yeah. Finally, one of the ones we continued, we actually got
We
to
get done.
move through.
Yep. Great.
Getting stuff done, Howard. Our next one that we continued from our last meeting was the Franklin County Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy Plan and Priority Project Update.
So let me just say that this is an optional opportunity. This is not something that we have to submit for, or that we have to, but it aligns with what we just discussed, that we know you are interested in the disposition of 50 Conway. Again, this is a unique site. It's a unique location. It has economic development opportunity. If accepted into this program, it would again provide additional spotlight, perhaps generate some local interest. It just maybe better spotlights the location as we move forward. I don't know what the negatives are. If it gets accepted into the program, are we on the hook for specific site development commitments? But I've started the application. I'd like to submit it and see where it goes from there. I'll confirm that it doesn't, obligate us to any funding or any decision-making. Again, it's really meant to provide us with as many technical assistance opportunities to maximize that location.
It could become a highlight spot with Sessions Garage closed too now, the big building there. It could be used for something good.
Yeah.
Could be good to go along with the mill.
Yep. It's got a lot of potential
Yeah,
there.
it does. It does.
Expanding the downtown.
Yeah.
It very much would. You have brand new sidewalks. You have all new infrastructure, water, sewer. You've dealt with your culverts, so you've made that area very resilient. You've already invested so much ahead of it. It makes it a more desirable location. But again, if you vote to move forward with the application, we'll monitor the commitment factor throughout the process. I don't want to overcommit us to anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Just looking for opportunities.
I would make a motion to allow Heather to move forward with the CEDS Plan and Priority Project.
I second that.
Any further discussion? None, all in favor?
Aye.
And then the last item in this category is our priority project list. I've done the updates of the projects that are complete, and unless there is any new project that you want to add, or if you feel that a project should come off the list, for example, the police station substation on the Buckland side, I've removed that from the list because we've obviously moved on from that. But if there are any other projects that should come off, or if there are new projects that should come on,
So these are projects that are still ongoing as well.
yes.
In terms of the cricket field, what kind of, it says no work to be considered, would you have any ideas of what we're?
I think that the next sentence there is that there's a strong desire for more public input.
Okay.
So I think that your next step would be that rec is going to hold a community forum or something along those lines.
And I'll be meeting with Cindy as well Thursday. Sorry, I think we were gonna, the cricket field was the next project up. Now that they've settled into the rec, she needs a new project. So we'll be discussing that for budget requests and everything on there, so hopefully at our next meeting we'll have more on that.
So I think that a public bathroom in the downtown is still on the list and a priority. Cricket field, the bike park is still on the list, although it is, we've acknowledged that we don't have any current funding sources to move forward with that. But as we were just talking with Kate and Flannery, that we could add, for example, how to support BSEs. And this is just a list that FERCog has so that they're looking out for grants and other opportunities for us. So I can certainly add that the playground project in Shelburne to the list, and they know that we are interested and support it.
Yeah.
So what is the status of the bike park, with the proposed bike park?
You have tentatively looked at a design and given your feedback on that design. They are now looking for funding sources to move forward with the first phase of that design.
Oh, I thought they already had, I didn't know.
No, unfortunately, there is not a whole lot of money right now for those types of projects.
See, that's why you need the thing's fixed.
Oh, I know.
Her arm.
Poor little thing.
It's quite
I know.
gassed.
I know.
Uh,
So I'll
Toughen up, Larry.
She's tough. She is tough. I pity the fool that wants to mess with her.
So if you don't have any other projects to add, I'll take that list as complete and get that turned back around as well.
Sounds good to me.
It looked pretty good, yes.
Okay. No contract or grant documents to sign?
Sadly, no.
No permits and licenses. We have the minutes of January 14th.
No, those will be tabled.
Those are going to be tabled.
Yeah.
They're not completed yet. We have the vendor and payroll warrants, 25-17. Make a motion to approve both payroll and vendor warrants for January 28th.
I'll second that.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Items not reasonably anticipated by chair. I have nothing. Do I have it? I have nothing.
I don't think you have anything.
That's what we're going with. All right. Select board member concerns?
Do I have any? Do you have any, Count?
No, not tonight.
Do we have any, Heather?
Not tonight.
Okay.
Well, usually I meet with Heather prior to make sure I don't have anything. I didn't get
I
that
usually meet with Joan
opportunity
too, so
tonight. Town administrator's report.
I'll keep it quick.
Thanks for your report.
So,
That quick?
not quite that quick. Just wanted to report. I reported out to the board and the finance committee this morning that the Chapter 90, the Mass DOT created a Chapter 90 advisory committee a couple of months ago. Chapter 90 is our state road money. The town usually receives about $180,000 a year to do road repairs. We know that $180,000 barely keeps our potholes filled. It's been an ongoing issue with the formula of how that the state apportions $200 million a year for Chapter 90, and when towns like Buckland get $180,000 of a $2 million bond, you know that you're not getting very high on the priority list. I was invited to participate in the advisory committee representing Franklin County. I think due largely to my work on the Franklin County transportation, the TPO that I serve on and represent West County at the regional level. And obviously, we've been a very strong advocate for road reconstruction grant funding. So it was a privilege to serve. It really realized just what they're up against as far as how to reform that policy. Nobody wants to lose money, so the only choice was to add money, and then with the addition of that additional $100,000, which is 50% of the overall budget, to have that apportionment based only on road miles. So not taking into any per capita or population or any of the other formulaic variables. So essentially, if this is codified and put into law, the town of Buckland would receive about $320,000 a year for Chapter 90 money, which is still not enough, but it's more. And they're also looking at making this these funds available in a 5-year package, so the town would have access to 5 years worth of their Chapter 90 funding, and then obviously if you choose to do one large project, then that's your project for 5 years. But it does allow a community a little bit more flexibility with their project planning. I'd like the board to sign a letter of support to our legislators so that they know that this reform is not perfect, but it's a good start.
Yes.
And that we support it, and then further, I would like your permission, your blessing. I know we're big into blessings, to take that letter of support and to share it with our other communities in Franklin County and ask them to bring it to their boards to send to our legislators, so that we can speak as a region instead of just Buckland. So we got to do something. Got to do something.
Yeah. Yeah, I would.
Okay.
Support that.
So I'll bring you a letter of support, and then we'll photocopy it and get it out to all of our neighboring communities and ask them to do the same.
Do that with their good graces. No more blessings.
Okay, no more blessings. No more blessings.
Good graces.
Good graces. I'll take it, Larry.
Do you need us to sign it, or?
Yeah, I have to write it first.
Okay, but we just
Yeah.
stop by and
Yeah,
sign it?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And I think that is all I have. We're working with CPHS, which is our regional health service, on a mini grant to provide some community events for our seniors, working with the senior center and our local council on aging. We've had lots of good ideas back and forth. A square dance activity, a puzzle night, an open mic night. We've got all sorts of great ideas. So if anybody listening to this meeting that is a senior or speaks for a senior or speaks with a senior and has an idea for what they would like to see as a community event that the town could sponsor, please reach out and let me know. And that, I think, is all I have.
No, I want to hear what happened at the MMA.
Oh, at the MMA.
Yeah.
Well, they have a new location. So we met in the Omni Seaport area this time, which was a much larger So I spent a great deal of time trying to find my way to the sessions, because it's a much larger convention center than the Heinz. But a lot of the sessions were on the economic forecast, for what the state is looking at, for next year's funding, which was very informative. I will say that the Division of Local Services, they didn't call Buckland out by name, but we received credit and kudos for being in the one of the top 30 communities to get our tax rate certification in. Basically, they were chiding the other towns that waited until December to submit their tax rate certifications. You can't mail tax bills without the Department of Revenue certifying their tax rate. And as you know, we have the classification hearing. We try to have ours as early in November as possible, so that we can get ahead and get that certification, so to give us plenty of time to get the tax bills out. Because Thanksgiving fell so late this year, the Division of Local Services received about 370 certifications from towns, school districts, and basically water fire districts after December 1st, which meant that the DLS staff had to process all of those before the end of the year, putting them in a real time crunch. And again, Buckland was one of the communities much further up the rank, and we've received some good grace from...
Now we know why they turned around on ours so quickly.
Well, because they only had 30 of them in front of them. But I think, again, you know, we have a great team that takes those types of tasks very seriously, and you know your staff is amazing, so I won't go there, but to say anything specific, Joe?
With any revelations, or?
Unfortunately, no. So with the new administration at the federal level, I think that MMA took a very conservative approach to any great revelations or proclamations. I think everybody's watching to see how the changes in Washington affect the state, and how the state reacts to that will impact our municipal. So it was very quiet. I think everybody's holding their breath.
Do we get any federal aid directly?
We do not. We do not. The closest that we come to direct federal aid would be our community development block grant, which are funds that are derived from HUD.
Okay.
The only other thing we get is like the VEST program that the police department does for reimbursement. That's a federal grant as well. All right, public comment. Nothing?
It's going good. I'm trying to learn all about
Thank you.
Good luck.
We are too. We are too.
I'm in a local government.
Yeah.
I know.
We are too.
I think our local one runs pretty good, though. I mean, yeah,
Yeah, everything's been
We're trying.
yeah, yeah.
We're trying.
Thank you for coming.
Some snafus lately,
Yeah.
but that goes back to me not doing some due diligence, maybe I should have done.
Yep.
But we're working through it, right? We have a plan. Yeah. And I will always say that if anybody has questions or feels that they've hit a snafu of any sort, that coming in and having a conversation, my door is always open, and we'll work through it line by line if necessary.
Yes, that's for sure.
Or I'll send you to see Pam.
All right, announcements and upcoming meetings. Our next meeting is February...
It's the February 8th, is it February 8th? No, February 11th.
11th. Yep. February 11th at 5 p.m. will be our next meeting, followed by February 25th.
Yep.
All right. other announcements or upcoming meetings that we wanna throw a plug into?
The zoning board is meeting with Great River Hydro tomorrow night to begin a conversation about the battery storage proposal. So for those that follow those clean energy discussions, we invite you down. I believe they start at 6:30. That'll be here in the town hall tomorrow night.
Okay. All right. Nothing else? Move to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?